culture meets health, and wisdom takes hold. Fresh perspectives and insights unfold. Building stronger teams, brighter paths ahead. A workplace where passion and purpose are fed. Join us, engage, and elevate your game. Wellness that works puts growth in the frame. Mental clarity, physical strength, definition, insight, tools and strategies that get it right. Real stories, real growth, real change that lasts. Practical guidance that moves you fast. Workplace wellness hour brings substance and spark. Together we flourish. Together we make your mark. Building stronger teams, brighter paths ahead. A workplace where passion and purpose are fed. Join us, engage, and elevate your game. Wellness that works puts growth in the frame. So mark your calendar, answer the call. Workplace wellness, practical magic for all. Building stronger teams, brighter paths ahead. A workplace where passion and purpose are fed. Join us, engage, and elevate your game. Wellness that works puts growth in the
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another Workplace Wellness Hour. It is Monday, June 8th, 2026, and we are excited about today's topic about acquired neurodivergence and the workplace, what we need to understand better. But before we get started about the topic and introduce our special guest, Sumana, how are you? How have you been these past
I am happy. I am well. It's sunny. The weather's great. I went for a really great hike this weekend. I don't know if you saw on Instagram, but it was a little bit challenging. My legs are very sore, but it is totally worth it.
No
I
gain, no
always feel
gain.
like I'm on top of the world when I do these hikes. How have you been, Felipe?
You know what? I've been busy. I've been good. There's some hopefully good things happening for me this
Yes.
week, which I'll announce later.
Yes.
But this past weekend, I had a wonderful Saturday. Went to a nice dinner with my wife, Jaleo's restaurant, known for Spanish tapas. And me and her love everything the same. She's not a big fan of blue cheese, and there's this really like smelly blue cheese from Spain, the part of Spain that I'm from, called queso cabrales, and it's from Asturias. And they had it at the restaurant. I'm like, let me get some of this cheese. Now, my brother was with us, and he and I devoured the cheese, that specific cheese. And then we went to go see the play Othello. And so, for those of you that don't know, I did a post about this. I know I talk about Marvel, I talk about HR, I talk about Star Wars. I'm a big Shakespeare nut.
I love it.
And in my post, I write about a teacher that got us into Shakespeare because he really was good about like, what do y'all like? And we're like, action, adventure, comedy. Like, I got a great book for you, Macbeth. And we're like, oh, come on, man. But and read the post, and I'll tell you about how he inspired us. But here's the thing. So my brother every other year gets us tickets to see a Shakespeare play, as a Christmas gift. So this year he got us tickets to Othello. So after the dinner, we went to the play, and about right before intermission, I just started getting sweaty. really sweaty.
Uh-oh.
And my stomach wasn't feeling good. I'm like, she's like, are you okay? I was like, I don't know. I feel like I'm going to get sick. She's like, why don't you go to the bathroom? I was like, I feel bad getting up in the middle of the play, but I might have to. Oh my gosh, I lost it. I got so sick. You
Oh,
stomach flu from hell. And so I wait for intermission. I go to see my brother. I'm like, I'm not feeling good. We need to leave. And he's like, my stomach's not doing good either. I think I need to leave too. So we think we got food poisoning from the cheese.
Oh, no. Or maybe, sometimes when cheese is weird, but sometimes if you haven't had an item for a long time and then you bring it and reintroduce it to your GI, I don't think it likes it very much. So how
Oh no,
long ago
I
did
have
you
blue
have
cheese
that
all the
cheese?
time. I have this cheese. Yeah, so it's
Oh,
not. I
okay.
will say that cheese is moldy. So how can you tell when it's bad sometimes?
Poor you. Oh my
It
God. And
ended
your
up.
wife didn't have any, so she was fine.
Yeah, she was totally fine, thank God. And the play was good from when we watched it. But anyway, so yeah, that was my weekend, and came home, and today's been a nice sunny day here outside of Washington D.C. How is it by
Yay.
Calgary?
Very sunny. It's been nice. We've been finally moving into kind of the sunny times. June is a little rainy, which I don't mind. So we'll probably get rain on and off, but it's just green and gorgeous. I should send some pictures. I'll send it to you and Marion later, but it was just absolutely incredible. When it's green and then you see the mountains and then you see like the snow on the mountain. So you see all the colors, the white, the blue, the green. It's just so pretty. I love
That's
it.
awesome. I love that. Here, I'm going to put the comments here because I want to say hello to some people that have joined us.
Yay.
If I can get these comments to work properly, they always like to be challenging. Oh, that's not right. All right. Well, anyway, you know what? Before I do the comment, let me say hello to a few people who have joined us. It's great to see Kenny here. It's great to see Nicole. Nicole is my publisher who has my second book of the children's book series, Brady and Lucky the One-Eyed Cat for the Backyard Adventures. Angela, thank you for coming. Jason Forehand, if you're not following this guy, his nonprofit and the work he does just speaks for itself. But just the part he does with Transformation Kitchen and the help he does in different communities, outstanding. Check him out. Christine Fetty, I can't wait to see you and your sister come up later on, hopefully. Leanna, thank you for always being such an amazing supporter. Marianne, I'm assuming you're Christine's sister. Thank you for joining us. Welcome. We look forward to seeing you up here. Melissa Houston, my partner in crime on the Careers, Chaos, and Coaching. Always great to see you. Cooper Gates, it's been a hot minute. Good to see you, my friend. Jackie Hallberg is in the house. Jackie has her show right after ours. She always has two good guests to interview. She always produces, and it's always great conversations. Coach Carey, thank you for sending your positive energy. Always love your financial tips. And then Lama Jello, thank you for joining us. And I think that was it. Gregory Liverpool's in the house. Good to see you, Gregory. All right, so we're going to invite you all up shortly to join us in the chat. But before we do that, we wanted to introduce you all to a very special. I'm really trying to make these things work. Let me figure out that later on. But we want to introduce you to a very special guest. We have somebody here who Sumana and I have known for many years,
Yay.
right? And Sumana,
Mhm.
I give you credit. Another person that you introduced me to. You knew him before I did. He was your friend first. but he has become a very dear friend of mine as well, and he's somebody who I'm very excited to have us join us on stage. So without further ado, let's bring up Marion Spears Karr.
Marion Spears, Karr,
How are you, my
everybody.
friends?
Hi,
I'm sitting.
Marion.
Hey, Sumana. Hey, Felipe. I'm thinking about your blue cheese thing. I'm completely obsessed now with the fear of blue cheese. I didn't know I was going to have that. Now I have it. But okay, we're good.
No, don't have a
It's great
fear
to
of it.
be
No,
here,
blue cheese is
Sumana. It's great to be
good.
here, Felipe.
Don't be
Oh no,
afraid
I
of blue
love
cheese.
it. I love it. But like in the
Well,
middle
listen,
of Othello, that's crazy. Anyways, good to be
before
here.
you get into this, I wanted to introduce you properly and let people know that anyone who has not been following Marion, I highly recommend you to follow him. He is somebody who is a healthcare executive, a leadership coach, a speaker. He's a podcast host. He's founder of Inflow Executives. He's got 30 years of experience of helping leaders and organizations succeed. And he dedicates a lot of his time to understanding how people perform at their best, which is not common in a lot of leadership. So, but what makes his perspective especially powerful, I think, is it comes from both a professional expertise and a personal experience. Um, he'll share about a traumatic injury that he had that he caused him to become a strong advocate for brain injury awareness, neurodiversity, and creating workplace where people can thrive regardless of how their brain works. So, Marion, I'm excited to have you here. Please share a little bit more about yourself, introduce yourself to this crew, and then Sumana and I are going to ask you some questions. But before that, introduce yourself so that they can know a little bit more about you.
Thank you so much. And it's great to be here. And all of us go back to the Clubhouse days, and that's how we got connected when we were trying to figure out how to keep communicating. And that platform that's how Sumana and I got connected. My name is Marion Karr. If you don't recognize the scratchy accent, I'm from the mountains and foothills of North Carolina and now live in the mountains of Georgia. As Felipe pointed out, I've been in the leadership development and executive search space for 30 plus years. Inflow Executives, my third iteration of companies. We're focused on kind of three things: helping healthcare organizations put together teams, leadership teams across their enterprise, but more importantly, build teams that are focused on gratitude, focused on what we call accomplishment culture, and been doing a lot of research around how neuroscience applies to leadership in the context of gratitude. Felipe pointed out that this area of discussion today is a very personal one. I can't claim to be an expert in the space of acquired neurodiversity, but I can hold fast to the fact that I'm part of that population. I grew up in the extreme sports world before it was called extreme sports. I was in the early days of the gravity sports movement and cycling as well. And when I was 18, I had the first of 3 head injuries, but the one that was the most severe, a traumatic brain injury, when I got hit by a car on a bicycle training for a race. I tried to return to cycling, road cycling, but that was not in the cards for me. It was a major change for me. I was very blessed that I was, an elite athlete and recovered physically, did not have a lot of the physical manifestations of my brain injury that most people with the type of brain injury that I had normally present. The challenges of my brain injury came over time, where I lost my ability to retain anything in short-term memory. I became completely deaf in my right ear and partially deaf in my left. I developed what you would describe as ADHD type situations, anxiety, which Felipe, you and I talked about. I can speak to that a little bit as well. And over time that I had to learn how to learn again. I had to learn how to study again. I had to learn how to retain information again. So it's been a lifelong focus of mine to learn about that particular employee population, or that particular population. I've had 2 other head injuries as well that added to that. And now I'm I've moved into the old age, I guess. I'm in my mid 60s now and just started a new company 2.5 years ago. So now I'm dealing with the challenges of cognitive decline just because of my age. So this is just an incredibly important topic, because there's people that are in this space, the acquired neurodiversity space. There may be not as many as you would think in the population, the work population, but actually there's probably more than you would suspect. So this has been a really important topic of advocacy for me, and we can get into the questions, but I've learned to adapt, learn how to change, learn how to learn. And this was just a really important piece of the discussion. So Felipe, thank you. And Sumana, thank you so much for letting me be on the show.
Well, Marion, thank you.
look forward to the conversation.
You have such an amazing history, and really, again, if you're not following Marion, check out his LinkedIn feed. He has such great stuff that he shares. And not only that, talking about extreme sports, there was one of his posts. You see this guy zooming down the street on a skateboard, and all of a sudden it gets up really close, and you see it's actually Marion on the skateboard. So check it out. And before I forget, I do want to wish Nick and Guy a very happy birthday. Today is her birthday, even though I wished it to her a day early.
Happy birthday.
But happy birthday. But so we're gonna ask some
There you
questions
go.
here, and then we're gonna invite some people up. So we'll take turns. I'll go first, and I'll hand it over to Sumana. So the first question, I think, just to kind of level the playing field for people, is acquired neurodivergence is different than what most people traditionally think about when they hear neurodiversity. So for people hearing it for the first time, how do you define acquired neurodiversity?
Well, in the classical sense, the movement to understand neurodiversity in the workplace has been centered on, developmental neurodiversity like ADHD or autism, a spectrum disorder or dyslexia or some form of that. Where the differentiation comes, and there's a big debate, and there are purists that say that these other areas are not necessarily should fall in the category of it, but acquired neurodiversity really is a change in how your brain works later in life, either due to illness. I mentioned traumatic brain injury, falls, vehicle accidents, sports injuries, military injuries. Matter of fact, we could get into that, but PTSD in the military is tremendously related. And there's studies out there. You can go find them. You don't just have to Google them, go to and look at actually classic studies. A lot of PTSD is related to brain injury. So those would fall in that. The other, in terms of acquired neurodiversity, is ischemic stroke or hemorrhagic stroke that changes how the brain functions. Transient ischemic attacks, for example, that have lasting effects. And then the other one, the one that's really fascinating to me now, is one that I just started reading about. And this is the impact that long COVID is having on our employee population, and with cognitive fatigue, brain fog, executive functioning challenges. And then one other area that is, and particularly for me, I'm completely deaf in my right ear and partially deaf in my left. Workspaces for me if they have too much noise in the background, I struggle. So if we think about acquired neurodiversity as something that happened later in life, at different ages, and is not the way they were from birth. So I don't know if that's a long answer to your short question, but that would be my answer.
No, that was very helpful, and I think that helps a lot of people understand a little bit of what it's like, because I think a lot of people understand what the most common ones are, like you mentioned, ADHD and autism, but having it midlife, and like you said, the PTSD, I didn't even think about how that definitely impacts how people's brain works. That triggering that they get from PTSD is impacting their brain. So that was very enlightening, Marion. I'm going to hand it over to Sumana for the next question. Over to you, Sumana.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Marion. And also thank you for sharing your story. I know a little bit about this from knowing you for several years now. And honestly, this is kind of like taking me back to the time when we first met back in Clubhouse. We've done so much work together, and we've actually never, strangely enough, never really talked about this particular topic. And all of the healthcare conversations that we've had, I know it's come up like here and there. So first of all, I just want to thank you for being so vulnerable and for sharing. I appreciate that, because I know there's a lot of folks that are listening For us, even sometimes, even for me, like we had a few weeks ago, we had Farah Jamil from Calgary, who is a neurodivergent leader, also from healthcare. And we learned a lot just from that conversation with her. So this is kind of a really cool, almost like a second part to that continuing of that conversation. For me,
Oh, that's good.
when I was thinking about this, I'm thinking more from the workplace well-being, as you know, from the workplace well-being perspective. And I think I have like one question, which I'm sure you may be able to at least add a bit of enlightenment to, which is how do we treat, because when it comes to burnout and return to work, there's a lot of literature that supports that there's specific things that leaders need to do to support return to work for burned out individuals to allow them to sustain in the work environment. Now, how does that apply to individuals who have acquired neurodivergence, so that we are supporting the employees, providing them like more of that meaningful support, more so than just like that compliance-based model, which I know in health we see a lot. So that's my question. Like,
Oh,
what do
yeah.
you think workplaces need to be doing? Thank you.
Well, I think that's a great question. I think in there's a lot to unpack on that, and we probably don't have a whole lot of time. But Gregory Liverpool in the comments is actually sharing that one of the biggest barriers that we have to creating a program to get people onboarded back in to create that wellness is that it is grossly underreported. People who are neurodiverse or have particularly acquired neurodiversity are often, he says, people are masking to the core. What they're concerned about in a lot of ways, Gregory, I love that comment, and you're on point in my opinion. People are so afraid of their jobs that they're afraid to say, hey, yeah, I've been in an accident. I had a concussion, a severe concussion. And by the way, you're getting, by the way, everybody on this audio call you're getting to see my brain injury in real time, because if you notice, I'm jumping around on topics. But back to your question, let's quit calling concussions just a concussion. It's a brain injury. Let's call it what it is. Let's stop with that. People struggle coming and telling their bosses or their employers that they've had this situation. So in the case of where burnout has been, if the company is empathetic around getting people that have been burnt out back into the workforce and have a process that they've created in order to ease them back into that process, that needs to be mapped also to people with these type of injuries. And this is where we're really going to have to advocate for the medical side of the business to create those protocols. Sumana, there's nothing out there from what I can tell. There's literally nothing on how to get somebody who have a head injury back into the workplace in an appropriate way. There's some people advocating for it, but there's very little work being done around it. So, but there's three things that I would say that needs to take place. One, it goes back before the accident or the injury or the stroke ever happened. Leaders in today's workplace, and I don't know how many people are listening or that are leaders or have any kind of influence, they need to begin immediately evaluating how safe it is within their organization for employees to ask for help. It's a culture challenge. If we do not create an environment, a work environment that allows people, employees, to feel comfortable enough to ask for help, then they're never going to address this problem, because no one, just to Gregory's point, they're going to mask what's going on because they're afraid they're going to lose their job. So I don't know if I answered. So that's the first thing. We have to create an environment before any of this happens, and this, you're talking about wellness on a grand scale, we have to create an environment as leaders where people feel comfortable enough to say, hey, look, I got a problem. You know, I'm coming back to work. I'm committed to coming back to work. I'm going to do everything I can to be productive and engaged and all the things that I was before my injury or before my situation. But I need some help here. People don't have that. That's the first thing. The second thing is that as employees or as people, we need to start demanding that.
Mhm.
We have got to, as a collective body of people in the workforce, say, this is important. How are you in getting people back to work that go through whatever it is?
So
I was at a company, not
Nick, to my next question to you, actually. Before
Felipe.
you dive into that, I want to ask you this question because I think it's going to be very specific to that. I do want to welcome Leslie.
All right. Okay.
No worries, Leslie Flowers, and it's great to see Marion.
Sorry, I was going long.
No, you're doing great. I'm loving this. Like you're like answering all my questions,
Yeah.
which is awesome. So we'll have time for some other people here.
Oh, okay. All right. No worries.
But Charles
Sorry.
Caldwell, welcome
Yep.
him, and William Rochelle as well. But my question was, oh, and Rue Sprinkle, thank you for joining us. So you meant, so first I wanted to list some things real quick before I ask my question, because I know a lot of people are asking, you know, what
Yep.
constitutes acquired neurodiversity, and you mentioned a bunch of them, but I have a list here, and feel free to add to it if I missed any. But you mentioned traumatic brain injury, stroke survivors is a big one that I don't think people thought about.
Correct.
You mentioned long COVID, but epilepsy, brain tumors, hearing loss you mentioned, but also
Yes.
vision loss.
Yes.
And then early onset dementia, Parkinson's, ALS, MS, all these things constitute, along with PTSD and severe anxiety orders, as well as depression and burnout. So this covers a lot. So I'm sharing all that for you all because if you know somebody in your family, if you're experiencing this, if you have a friend, share this with them. Let them watch the replay. Invite them right now. Repost this room so that everyone can join the conversation, because we're going to invite people up on stage to ask Marion some really great questions. And this is a chance for people that, whether you have a child maybe that's dealing with something, or a parent, or you yourself are dealing with it, this is the time for them to hear this stuff. So my question for you was along the lines of what you were saying. People are scared. If they acquire a neurodiversity and it's not obvious, they're scared to speak up in the workplace. What advice do you have for people that need to advocate for themselves and maybe find someone to help advocate for them as well? What advice do you have for people in the workplace?
Love that question. And to add to your list real quickly, and your list is fantastic. Another one that people don't realize is people that have eating disorders often have cognitive impairment as well because of their nutrition, and we'll get into nutrition later. So that's another one you could, people with anorexia fall in this category a lot of times because their nutrition is so poor that it damages the brain. So back to your question, the first thing that a person who is going back is they have to be okay with the fact that they're probably the only person that's going to advocate for them at first. And if they've never spoken up, that's so hard. But in order for them to protect themselves from a really bad situation, they have to be bold enough to say, hey, this is something I'm dealing with. And the second part of that is to take account of why are they going back to work? What are the reasons that they're going back to work? And if you think about it, what's the drivers for going back to work? For a lot of people, it might be just because that's how they make a living. They need to take care of themselves. But a lot of people work because they're taking care of other people, their children, their spouse. Now we have situations where there's a whole generation of people who are still taking care of teenagers, but also now taking care of their parents. Right. So there's stakeholders who rely on this person. So my point, and this was has been really my driver. There have been so many times, Felipe, I wanted to say, I'm done. I'm just quit. I'm done. I'm just going to quit, whatever it was I was doing. But when I took account of who needed me to take, to do my job and to work about my team, my family, my children, whatever it is, that gives us some driver. So write down what are those motivations. The third thing is with the internet now, and now there's a lot of junk on there, and don't just spend time on ChatGPT, but see if there is some kind of brain injury advocacy group, if it's brain injury, or other advocacy groups for your specific situation, and reach out to that organization to get support on how to go back into the workforce. For example, brain injury programs, each state in the U.S. have very robust brain injury programs. Canada does, and then has some great programs as well. So those are the three things. The first thing is focus on trying to take care of themselves so they can get back in the workforce and advocate for themselves, because nobody else is going to do it at first. It's just the way it is, unfortunately. Secondly, write down the reasons why you need to go back to work and what your motivations are. People will tend to do things and work hard for if there's other people involved, and what's their mission, et cetera, et cetera. The third piece is look for advocacy groups in around the marketplace. Does that make sense? I know it's
No,
my answers are kind of long
And I
tonight,
think-
so my apologies for that.
No, you're sharing brilliant stuff here, and I think advocating for yourself, like you said, is the most important thing, and it's probably the hardest thing. But finding someone to advocate for you is so important. Look, being an HR person, I'll tell you right now, know your rights, know the laws for accommodations, because you have a right. You gotta be
Exactly.
They gotta be reasonable
Exactly.
accommodations. You can't have someone build a brand new office with all this new tech in you just because you need a quiet office. They can put you in a quiet office that maybe isn't the nicest one, but it's quiet. That is an accommodation. But I want to acknowledge Nick's comment about she put in her bipolarism. And when I was researching this, because that's one of the things I love about the show is Sumana, you make me learn. And today and this past week, Marion, you've had me learn so much by the research I did. But one thing is I have relatives that are bipolar, and correct me if I'm wrong about any of this, what I learned was that it falls under neurodivergency, but a lot of people sometimes don't have the same symptoms because the brain function, it does affect cognitive and emotion and sensory, but a lot of the other effects are emotional effects versus cognitive effects. And I think that's why people sometimes forget to mention bipolarism, but that is considered under the neurodivergency umbrella, correct?
Yeah, and that would probably tend to, if you that that tends to fall under the original definition of neurodiversity, where, I don't know anything necessarily about bipolar, but that's that seems to be how the brain's functioning. I think what my area of is more around and I'm not going to use the word normal, because nobody on the planet is normal. Like, they're not. It's just not. There's no such thing. No such thing. I'm like, come on. Anybody says they're normal is just lying completely out of their ears.
Normal doesn't exist.
But just typical brain function. But what's really interesting to me is not being labeled as around, are you in this category or that category, as much as it is having leaders that can pay attention enough to see that there's something going on with their team members, their employees, in a way that, oh, this is different than what we've experienced before with this person. What can we do to help? And it's not just about labeling. It's like it's more, it's really important for us to understand that accommodation and stuff, it could be as simple as, Felipe, not having so much background music in the office. what they may find is there might be 10 other employees that we like, just give me regular white noise. That's way better. Like sometimes we make an accommodation for like one, we're worried about making an accommodation for one person and then nobody else had spoken up. Then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait a minute, that was better. Like there's so much to unpack. So again, yeah, y'all shouldn't have me on at night. There we go. This is what happens.
No, it's okay, but headphones are an accommodation technically. So Sumana, over to you, because this conversation
exactly
great. I love this. So over to you, my friend. Sumana.
I'm here. Sorry, I was trying to find my mouse. Love this discussion. So Marion, this, I talk about the workplace well-being in sort of this framework of IGLO. So individual, group, teams. Group and teams are the same, and then leader and the organization. So IGLO. And I know this conversation earlier, you said, we've got to put the onus on the individuals to self-advocate, which I think is great. But there needs to be some realistic conversations kind of tapering down that pyramid between the teams as well as the leadership and the organization. So I was thinking about how much of this responsibility, and I know you don't have to answer this in any quantitative way, but I'm just wondering, sure, the individual can think about accommodations and self-advocate, but I think we also, going back to accommodations, just something as simple as like changes to workflow. Jay had a question which got me thinking about job crafting, where managers and people returning back to work after a burnout or any kind of injury, for example, will sit down and say, well, how do I craft my job in a way that makes sense to me cognitively, to the task that I'm doing, and also with the people that I'm working with. So relational task job crafting as well. So I'm just wondering, are we putting too much of the onus on the individual when the individual is just adapting to this new way of being? For even when I got back to work after my concussion, after a car accident, like almost 15 years ago now, I didn't actually know what to ask for. I was relying on the organization to help me and my manager to see me through to succeed. So what do you have to say about that?
No, I agree. I agree with you. Again, my point is on the first avocation piece, if I'm managing 5 people and somebody goes and has an accident and I hear that, that they're out because they had a concussion, because I have a point of reference as a leader about what post-concussion's like for a lot of people, I can be empathetic and I can already have that awareness. The reason I mentioned that they have to start the process from a self-advocacy perspective is because until you tell your boss or until you tell the company or whatever that there's something different, they're not going to pay attention. So, but to your point, this is why this advocacy work needs to be done so much, is we need to educate leaders when somebody has been in an accident of some sort or an illness. There needs to be a process to onboard everyone, a questionnaire, what are the situations like? This needs to be standard HR practice across the organizations. It needs to be standardized, and that's not there. We're just not there. So yes, it is a responsibility. And here's why it's a responsibility of the employer, is for a lot of reasons, but here's the biggest reason. If you've got a really good employee, let's just talk about the money for a moment. The cost of replacing that employee is tremendous. And with the workforce, yes, there's a lot of people in the workforce looking for jobs right now. But from a recruiter perspective, I'm on the recruiting side, the talent pool, even though there's a lot of people in the marketplace, doesn't necessarily mean that the talent pool that's in the marketplace is perfect. If I've got an employee that has made a contribution or is a valuable team member, or anybody for that matter, from an empathetic perspective, we need to create a process to say, hey, you've been through some things. how can we help you? How can we help you get on board? And so I don't know if I'm answering your question, but the point I want to make is there is a tremendous amount of responsibility for the employer, but without someone saying, "Hey, I'm not the way I was," they may not until we create some processes that are built into HR that onboard people, get people back on board in a questionnaire or some kind of process. They're not going to know what's going on.
Yeah.
That
Definitely helps. The reason I wanted to say that, and I'm curious to hear Felipe's perspective also on this one, is I have seen this firsthand where I was too nervous to say something. People returning back even from any kind of disability. There's literature to support that return to work workers who are returning to work after burnout or even mat leave, for example. If the manager's support is not available, they tend to be very disconnected, not as passionate about the work, and they start to feel a sense of inadequacy, which further leads to feeling like I don't belong. So that sense of belonging starts to they don't feel like they matter, and most of us end up going back into depression if it already doesn't exist. So I think that leader support, rather than saying, you know what, work with the HR team and your return to work counselor and just let us know what you need. And it always feels weird. I don't know, Felipe, how it is in the United States, but it always feels weird when they just pass you on to HR or to the RTW team, and it doesn't really feel like humanizing. I don't know. It just feels like more work needs to be done there.
No, and I definitely think that the re-onboarding, if you will, of them into the workplace is really something important for them to look at. HR should be involved because ideally that accommodation doesn't need to be publicized. Ideally, if it can be kept quiet.
No. Yeah, we got HIPAA issues. Yeah, you're right.
Not
I agree with
put
that.
spotlight on them so brightly. Let's keep it respectful because it is a lot of times a medical thing that HIPAA here in the U.S., as well as I know it's called something different in Canada, protects us from sharing that information with people. But some accommodations, if someone's getting moved to a new office, is kind of odd. But listen, Marion, we got a bunch of people that want to speak to you and ask you questions. I'm going to tell everyone right now.
Okay, great. Let me
say one thing, and then you can speak while people come up on stage. But we do have a very hard stop at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, that'll be good.
And so I'm going to ask everyone that comes up.
Yep.
They have a maximum of 2 minutes a person because I need to respect everyone's time so we can finish up at 9 promptly so that Marion and Sumana and I can wrap up. But so if I cut you off, I'm not being rude. I'm saying it ahead of time. 2 minute max for everyone. So with that being said, we're going to bring our first people up on stage. But Marion, what you're going to say, go ahead.
Yeah, I think Jay Trivedi is making a really good point that most managers are don't really care, and that's where we have to have a cultural shift across organizations, a dramatic shift in that, and that's going to take a long time. I mean, I agree with you, Jay, that a lot of them are just more worried about sales and profit, but I can speak to customer satisfaction. If customer satisfaction is linked to one of these customers like to work with the people they probably work with your company because of the person that you have working for them. It's not just because of your product. And if we lose that person, we might lose that customer. So anyway, that's my point. Back to you, Felipe.
Yeah, no, this is great. Thank you so much. Felipe is probably maybe the audio is not working, but anyways, we have are you back? Yeah, there you go. You're back.
All right. All right. So, all right. So we have Christine Fetty and her sister Marianne. They have some questions for you. They have some to share about a personal experience. So, Christine, I'm going to hand the mic over to you and your sister Marianne. Introduce yourself and ask Marianne your question.
Hey, Felipe. Thanks for having us on. I will say something really quick, and then I'll have my sister share because it's really her son that we're speaking about.
You each get 2 minutes, to be fair.
I'll be quick though. He has definitely qualifies as being acquired neurodivergent. He has a rare inflammatory disease called Behçet's, and it presented when he was a senior in high school. And before that, you know, he was like an A student, varsity athlete, king of the prom, all those things. And it affected his personality and his impulse control, but he's still very intelligent, has a lot to offer. And so for somebody, and I'll have my sister share also, for somebody who hasn't had that much work experience, he actually graduated college. He was able to do that with a coach. He has a job in retail that he's very overqualified for and would like to do something else. And I liked what Sumara said about advocating, like somebody, I don't know how well he would advocate for himself, even though he has a lot to bring to the table. So I'm going to land it there and let my
Mhm.
sister Marianne take over.
Hey, thanks so much for giving the background, Chris. I really identify with your story, Mariam. Thank you so much for sharing it. My son has so many similarities in that he was just about 18 when his acquired brain injury affected him. And so he was sort of in that stage where he was going from boyhood, young adult to man. So like he didn't really have a lot of experience in the adult world in the employment as an employee, so to speak. And just I wonder if you could speak at all to trying to find employment opportunities for people that want to find a job that values them and they can themselves feel valued. It seems as if every situation we get into where we're trying to ask for assistance and trying to get some advocacy, and I'm trying to advocate on his behalf. We work with the state and vocational rehab, and most of the jobs that he will get are minimum hour jobs per week. Most of them are like stocking shelves or breaking down boxes, which of course is, somebody has to do those jobs, but it's really just difficult,
Yeah.
really trying to find an employer that will really just look at his potential and look past like some of the more obvious symptoms that he has to work with him. And it really does seem
Mhm.
sometimes like I'm listening to a lot of the conversation and it's inspiring, but at the same time, it sounds very idealistic to me. Like it's not the world that I'm like living in right now with my son. So I'm just wondering if you could speak to that at all, or if you have any advice for a young adult that's going through this.
Yeah, I'll offer two things. Felipe, if you'll send Marianne and Chris my email, I'll schedule a call with you guys. Marianne,
will.
this is really an area that I have a lot of interest in. And might be able to help you. But first, the first thing is start focusing on researching companies in your area that talk about the stocking shelf piece and all. I get that that's like the the Goodwills and those kind of things, and those are great places for some people. But with your son, the biggest thing is we need to find companies that already have experience in hiring people with similar situations. I know that that's a hard answer to answer tonight, but there are ways we can go through that process. And again, I'm more than glad to have that talk. The second thing that you can do immediately is start spending time with him, if you can, to talk about what are the things that give him, from a work perspective, that give him satisfaction. Start thinking about what are the problems that he can solve, what are the things that he can do, and create a focus on finding a job where he can do that. I know that sounds idealistic, Marianne, but there is a process that can take place. Here's the situation. I'm very blessed with my situation. I was an almost straight A student. I went to college on an academic scholarship. I scored really high on the SAT, all before my brain injury. When I got to college, I was in complete panic because I couldn't keep up with at the level that I was. I was blessed. I could learn how to learn over again. But what I was very fortunate that I had a counselor at my school or my college. I went to a small university that helped me change my schedule so I could do what I needed to do. And really take those classes main semester, I didn't have a whole bunch of classes where I had like a whole lot of concentration work every time. So I'm not answering your question, but I think the first two things is start paying attention to what he gets the most satisfaction out of from a work perspective. Like what skills does he it's not just about skills, things he can do, but what gives him satisfaction in terms of that work. And then the second part is, and I can walk you through how to identify what companies that are in your area that can allow him to work in it. And I'm not an expert in this space, so but I've done some volunteering in this area, so I can help you find resources. Marion, I'm sorry you're going through all that. I wish I could have given you a better answer, but that would be my response.
Hey, listen, that is a fantastic answer, and I really do appreciate any assistance. I know this is just my, what I'm sharing tonight. I'm sure others have other things to share, but I really do appreciate it because I do feel like it's very hard to find people that are similarly situated. It seems as if a lot of the programs that we get into or that we can be a part of, people have struggled with different types of neurodivergence their entire lives, and it's not who he is. He doesn't have the same journey,
No.
doesn't identify the same way. And so like your story, just it really resonates with me just because it seems very, very similar to him. Same thing, like he did extremely well on the SAT, was going to college on a scholarship, and basically had a stroke, what I guess is sort of akin to a stroke on the day of his high school graduation.
Yep.
And it just changed his whole trajectory. So really appreciate any insights. Hopefully we connect after this
Yeah.
call.
I just sent Marion's
We
email
my
to
accent.
Christine.
Go
So
ahead, Felipe. Yeah.
no, so Christine has
I
your
know we're
email,
right
so
out
y'all
of
can
time.
get together and chat more on that.
Perfect.
So I look forward to y'all
Yep.
on this, because I think this is a huge opportunity. And
Yep.
I agree with Marion as far as when you find those companies that are doing the work, look at the reviews. Look at the reviews of the companies and look at people who are actually talking about what they're doing, not just the people that say do it. Get some validation there. Sumana, why put Christina Marion back in the backstage and move up Gregory? Any thoughts or comments?
Yeah, no, love that. Thank you so much for sharing that, Christine and Marianne. I think my only thought when Marion was speaking in terms of like researching these different organizations, I know there's plenty here in Alberta that I've been lucky to have been collaborating with. But one kind of keyword search that may help, and I don't know if this exists, and I'm sure it does, but would be, of course, DEI, disability inclusion, mental health, or trauma informed leadership or leaders, perhaps even on LinkedIn. And I know, Marion, you might know a ton in your amazing network of individuals that you work with, but any kind of trauma informed leaders that are part of organizations, those may be the people to be reaching out to, who have not just content, but like a public commitment to accessibility. I know a ton in Alberta, but I definitely don't know in the United States. So that's the only thing that came to my mind was we need people, because when she said, we want someone to see the potential, I'm like, oh my God, that's exactly what we want. But in order to see that, it goes back to my original point of we cannot put this advocacy on the individual. We need leaders who are trauma informed leaders to be supporting. So yeah, that's about all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Felipe, we want to invite Gregory to the stage. We've lost you there for a second. I know we have about 5 minutes. Maybe I'll just do that. Gregory, welcome. I know this is right up your alley, another Canadian. So welcome, and feel free to ask Marion your question. You have 2 minutes.
Yeah, Marion, by the way, love the cowboy hat in your profile. I am a sucker for cowboy hats in profile pictures beautifully. I was diagnosed at the age of 25, 26, now just turned 44, ADHD and the spectrum, and I was, and my psychiatrist saying it could have been diagnosed when I was at birth. And the reason why I put that comments that idea that verbiage in the comments is that people like me are that come out saying that we are neurodiverse, but there's a lot of people who are masking as we speak, and it's basically the fear of reprisal that if you come out as being neurodiverse, it will cost you your career, similar to mine, basically, because nobody knows how to handle it and stuff. And I'm looking for HR related type of work, and this is basically a bugaboo within my HR circle here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, which is not so far from Sumana, which is in Calgary, Alberta. And it's basically, I will say, I get little to no support, and I mean real-time support in terms of people advocating for me and or knocking down barriers per se. It's basically, I will say, leadership by verbal and by talk, but not leadership by actual
Gregory, you have 1 minute
actual
left, my
thoughts and
friend.
stuff. So yeah, so that's basically my comment and stuff. And how can we basically find people who are sage leaders in terms of curiosity leadership for people in the neurodiverse community that they could really rely on and stuff. So thank you.
Yeah, I think from a job search perspective, Gregory, and I can understand. I've seen what you're going through. I think one of the things that you could do is try to think about what is a problem, set aside for a moment from the diagnosis and the challenge you have. Think about what is, as an HR professional, you don't have to answer it today. We won't be able to answer it in the 2 minutes we have, but think about approaching your job search from the perspective of what is the problem you solve better than most people, better than most people in the HR space. But what is like one, and again, we don't have time to answer it tonight, but try to think about what your value proposition in the marketplace is around specifically the problem that you solve most, better than most. And then start looking for companies that have that problem to be solved. Now, that sounds idealistic, but there's some value in that, because if you can work with some people to get in front of people who are solving or need that problem solved, they're going to want to talk to you. And if they want to talk to you, you can you have that opportunity to potentially work with them. The thing is, if we just lead with the needs, et cetera, that's all important. But ultimately in the marketplace is, what is a problem you solve better than most? And who are the people that need to solve that problem? Felipe, back to you. I know we only have 1 minute.
I think we keep
Sumana,
losing. Oh, there you are. Yeah.
Any last words before we wrap up?
No, I'm good. Thank you so much. Gregory, great question. And I know we can continue talking about this for a long time. I do appreciate all of the fantastic comments. I don't think I've read all of them, Marion. I am so grateful to have you on stage with us. It's been such a long time. So I really do appreciate you being here and talking and learning from you. And I'm going to go back and look at some of the comments. But I do have to hop off of here. The only thing I'll say that's coming up for me on Wednesday is a LinkedIn Live reskill with Jetty. I do a 30-minute LinkedIn Live, and this month we're going to talk about employee recognition 4 different ways. So pop in for that. It'll be short and sweet. Anybody who wants to join, it'll be up as soon as I hang up from this show. Thank you, Marion. Thank you, Felipe.
Thank you, Sumana. See you.
I was just going to say, thank you again, Marion, for everything. You've been amazing. I can't hear you all right now, unfortunately, so I've been listening to you on YouTube because my audio went out again. But we are probably going to have part 2, because I'm going to say that I want to have you back, Marion, for another discussion to continue this, because I think this has definitely been a very thought-provoking conversation that people have had a lot of questions about, and it's opened up our eyes to a lot more awareness about this. I know it's opened up my eyes to be more aware of it in the workplace for people who come back after any kind of injury or something that's made them acquired neurodivergency. But you have been amazing. If you're not following Marion, please follow him. He's available, obviously, on LinkedIn. Marion, are there any other places people can find you?
No, that's LinkedIn is my domain, and send me connect requests. Everybody in the comments that are not a first level connection. I know I saw several of my first level connections in the chat, but please connect with me. This is advocacy space for me. This is important, and it aligns with the neuroscience work that we're doing in gratitude training development, and I'm studying everything I can about this area because it speaks to leadership in the context of the workforce. And so please send me connect requests and connect with me there. That's the best place right now. I have a LinkedIn live show too called the Healthcare Leadership Show. Tomorrow morning we're going to have one with the doctor out of Chicago talking about gratitude as a physician superpower. So Felipe, so honored to be here and to be with your audience, and I look forward to connecting with everyone. And yeah, let's do it again. I'd love to go. I'd love to go further on this because it's an important discussion. So have a great night. Thank you so much.
All right.
I think we lost.
I think you
Felipe's
finished.
audio.
I hope you did. But listen, thank you again for everything. We appreciate you all. Definitely check out Marion's podcast he does in live. Check out his LinkedIn page. And Christine, definitely follow up with him. For me, as always, if you aren't following Sumana, you can follow her on LinkedIn. And she has Jetty Wellness as well for her website. Go check it out. As always, Convenient Consulting, if you need some services for HR training, coaching, recruiting, or compliance, feel free to reach out. And as always, I would really appreciate anybody to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where I house all the shows for the Workplace Wellness Hour, as well as the Careers, Chaos, and Coaching, Social Saturday Chat, and Future Ready Voices. So with that being said, Marion, thank you for an amazing conversation. Thank you for everyone in the chat that joined us. We really appreciate you. We know a few of you wanted to come up and join us. David, you specifically. David Fishwick. I'd love for you to join the conversation next time with Marion. Maybe we get both of you to join us as guest speakers. But I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their Monday. Hope you all got some value out of it. Let me know in the comments what was your big takeaway that you got from today's session. And Marion, we will see you in future events, hopefully. Have a safe 2 weeks. And as always, remember, be confident, be curious, be grateful, be compassionate, and be tenacious as hell because you got this. Take care, Marion. Have a great day. Thank you.
Man.